Here's Johnny. Thank you, Ed. Here's Johnny. Okay, I heard you first time, Ed. Oh, I was just saying, Johnny. Okay, Ed. You can go now. You're welcome also, Johnny. Don't mention it. Oh, I'm sorry, Ed. Did I touch your nerve? I wasn't meaning to. Oh, it's okay, Johnny. I know you didn't. Well, hopefully you did. No, I didn't. Hello there, everybody, social media family. Being as you are among yourselves, a person to be possibly considered, and being from my subscribers or followers to visitors, even so, who are supposedly affiliated. Sorry about that. Affiliated or associated with, and are representing my own particular YouTube social media channel, likewise channel and comment section. Well, at least technically the latter, if not as officially as the former, being that because for that to happen, that many more subscribers would have to do just as much, or better yet to be said and stated for record, that much more, as in push or press the subscribe button than just the like button. I mean, being because if you're not going to do that, then please don't, insult my intelligence. Not only that, but yours also, and or disrespect me by disrespecting my social media channel, chat room, comment section for that matter, that's affiliated, associated with, and representing some such thereof, the same of the said in question or aforementioned. If you're not going to likewise, at least if that much more, think of it with my intentions to push or press the subscribe button. Meaning because when you press any visitor, push or press the like button, that doesn't do, that doesn't do anything for me. No, it don't. Is what I meant to say. Prince, please continue regular man because I Prince Doctor. No, it doesn't or don't do anything for me, and neither nor for you. If you look at it from one point of view, not another. I mean, it only takes a minute, less than that. I mean, if you're going to contemplate, spending a couple few seconds, press the like button, if not more time than that, then hopefully as well you would think to that it's of a matter to press the subscribe button, if not more so. You hear what I'm saying? And then to think that to add insult to injury or to exacerbate that other case, situation, or the complicate matters or the compound the problem, you have certain visitors, not all visitors, I say not all visitors, but certain ones who would misbehave in coming into my comment section, chat room conversation, or whatever I said, and have the audacity or the nerve to simply say, to assume that they have just as much rights and privileges as any subscribers by making like chatty catties. When if you have not pressed the subscribe button after having paid my channel a couple few visits, then don't do me like that by disrespecting my domain that I'm the sole owner thereof, and as well, disrespect some of such literal actual subscribers by doing so, and for that matter, disrespect yourselves. Don't insult my intelligence as well as anybody else and that of your own, by coming off like some of such, because you don't have those rights and privileges. And if you were to attempt to go there in that direction, then you never know when I myself could possibly not only silence your chat, but then, worse yet, could possibly, after a while, when I've had enough, seriously think of it with a man's intentions to block you from my social media channel and likewise chat room, comment section, affiliated or associated with and representing the same thereof of the said question aforementioned, and moving right along. Let's move right along. Yeah, speaking correct, proper standard English grammar, American dialect. Then more like Marvin Martin butchered it. I never did claim to have become even so much as an English major, but college or university student. So how much less an English professor? Anyway, though, regardless, now that I've gotten the preliminaries out the way, there's a basic intro as an introduction, salutation and asking in due regard to what your general welfare may be, as well as that of your loved ones, family members, and friends for your different households. But then, whereas tonight's, or whereas the present social media broadcast, being as it is of some such video content material, and I did draft it or compose, or whatever I've said, stay for record much earlier intro as an introduction. Please do excuse, pardon, forgive me for the rather compulsive physical gesture. And hopefully it's not of a health issue being the result of development of one of these here proverbial neighbors from damn hell. Among my present public problem neighbors could have possibly have attempted to sabotage my general health in one regard and another, whereas I could possibly from there have to romance the thought of contemplating scheduling another appointed visit at some future given date and time for a local vicinity area premises of properties, medical facility of a hospital within a vicinity area neighborhood community at a given address location, regardless of whether or not I would have to do follow up at one of its auxiliary clinics. Anyway, though, I was saying, or was about to, or as I continue the line of thought, and whereas the present social media broadcast, yes, so I say, is backtrack here, I'm going to say for record. And as I go on with the following to continue for when my person at last left off, and whereas the present social media broadcast, being as it is of some such video content material, and sorry about the delays, and partly responsible for that having happened, whereas I'm doing a remake of the original intro due to unforeseen circumstances, and being which is such as the case in a situation upon the conditions, rather extenuating ones, where certain neighbors are not all that conducive to my general health, as those that I had mentioned earlier, that are those, well, on the last mentioned earlier, or whatever I haven't said, stay correct. And as this particular one who resides in an apartment above that of my own as a tenant is misbehaving like one is attempting to replace substitute for the last main one being of a local drug trafficker. And upon a daily and nightly basis, one continues to likewise assume that one has a legit personal-vendetta grudge-match against me. But anyway, though, whereas the present social media broadcast being of some of such is regarding and making reference to how that one particular foreign nation or supposed so-called third world country, being as it is to be possibly considered for that one that's in the Middle East so far as Iran is concerned, is continuing to attempt to threaten not only the continental USA, United States of America, but then the rest of the global or international community of countries or nations to be possibly considered, for that being as it is of a different kind, sort of type for the likes of its kind. And whereas Iran has to be getting help from somebody else to continue this rather ridiculous war against the USA, threatening not only one of the greatest governments of a democratic republic or democracy and one of the greatest countries or nations in the world, but likewise one of the greatest militaries. But then, like I had said, stay for record before, so let me reiterate or repeat, it has to be getting some of such help from somewhere else to do just that. You know, after our country or nation has bombed it repeatedly to try to get rid of the jihadists, Ayatollah Khamenei's, and subordinates of Islamic Muslim terrorists, whereas we have hit more than quite a few of their strongholds, the military strongholds, unfortunately, whereas, we should have used more drones, being of which would prove to be more cost effective and less likely to waste American taxpayers' money. But here it is, this trigger happy General Peter Hesse is continuing to, practically, if not possibly altogether, exhaust our military arsenal. And God forbid for we ourselves to have to fight on another front, especially if a combination of hostile foreign nations or countries have it of their mindsets to want to, engage with the USA, or if other anti-American foreign nations or countries could possibly decide that it wants to, step up its game and, from there assist Iran in its anti-American sentiments and our gestures against us. God forbid. Then hopefully we will take the state of Israel's lead regardless and come out victorious, to be compared on to the 1967 war when 7 hostile anti-Israeli nations, foreigners, countries to be considered, had attempted to attack it with little no avail and had come up at a great loss compared to our white Jewish brethren, who are the cousins of the black Hebrew Israelites. Yeah. But anyway, getting back to American General Peter Hesse, whereas he needs to be removed, as in, he needs to be that is, he needs to either resign or be put out of office for his military position, during the course of a congressional committee, or that being whereas the president himself could remove him, I would think, because of how, he needs to resign or needs to be relieved of his military duties, but because he is firing off, a huge amount of our military arsenal, as I'm hearing it, like something like 1/3 of it has already been retired, and it takes years to replace that, and like, say, for example, Tomahawk ICBM intercontinental ballistic missiles, whereas it takes all day to just make one of them. And with how American General Peter Hesse has exhausted 1/3 of our military arsenal, firing off something like 850 Tomahawks in 1 month. We don't need an American or U.S. military general like that if he could possibly, make us become vulnerable to hostile anti-American foreign nations or countries, with the rate that he's, retiring that the same with the second question, aforementioned, and prove himself to have become or be the enemy within our own continental USA, United States of America, So get on that, President Donald J. Trump. you know, tell him that his services are not any longer needed, that he's fired, And I just get to thinking about vintage classic pop culture's song number and putting the twists on it. In the year 2028, I wonder if the United States of America will still be around, or whether or not we would have been invaded by foreign nations, anti-American clowns who want to pound not only the mugs of our American males, but the honey pots of our American females in the year, in the political election calendar year of 2028. Yeah. But then, to compliment the name title, I was saying how, this foreign nation, this so-called third world country of Iran in the Middle East, which is a drug empire controlled by idiots and sickos, like Mexico is controlled by drug cartels, Afghanistan, etc., and other foreign nations, countries of the license can. I mean, yes, what was I about to say? Something about, I'm sorry, at this rather late hour, but anyway, yeah, it's past more coming up on it rather. But anyway, though, and though I would sleep with up on my bed for this worse neighborhood I'm in until I can get back to much more familiar territory, whereas I could have more of a chance to breathe a sigh of relief, if you know what I mean, between the lines. But here it is, this, this General Peter Hesses, he's really proven himself to be some of such a rather nuisance, not just almost as much as our enemies, and like I say, those like Ayatollah Khamenei's and jihadist subordinates of theirs, Islamic Muslim terrorists, they have to be getting some help from somebody or some other sources or resources, as I was saying. I mean, to shoot down quite a few aerodynamic flying motor vehicles of the U.S. military at some such a given moment in time. But then we need to start using more drones. We need to make purchases of, as in buy more drones, and not only to fire off missiles from these drones at a much more affordable and reasonable economic price by which some of such could possibly be bought as in made purchases thereof, in other words. But also, which we could use the drones to spy upon them, any enemies of the USA from whatever foreign nations, countries, holding anti-American sentiments and engaging in anti-American gestures, of a line of thought, to transform it into physical actions coming from that being which is mental or the rat twisted, warped, wicked mindsets. I mean, enough is enough. If need be, within the next year or so, while we gather intel, then put boots on the ground in Iran. Let us rain upon them, and to be a real life threat against them, to complement movie flick scene for a vintage classic pop culture Hollywood or Hollywood motion picture production for the one called by its name title of The Warriors. We're gonna rain down damn hell on you, you Iranian Islamic Muslim jihadist Ayatollah communities and or subordinate terrorists. If you don't stop this nonsense, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But they ain't got a prayer, you know, you might as well say. Going to your heart with some or such, anything, everything, anyone and everyone, you know. Real life one. As well. And etc. Tony Stark makes you feel he's the coolest cat with the heart of steel. He's Iron Man. Yeah, those total communities, those communities should realize I told the communities and how this Islamic Muslim terrorist subordinate cowardly cocksuckers of faggoty nature who misrepresent manhood, even when it comes to the much more familiar faggots or fairies, homos, or queers. You know, they need to be taught a lesson, you know, because we're getting sick and tired of their nonsense. You know? I mean, Iran has committed mass genocide against its own citizens for the longest. Don't you know? As well as throwing them in the dark ages for the longest until they see a vision, a light of democracy, of a democratic republic. You know, and for the last half a century or 50 years, you know, whereas they ruled out democracy for quite a while, you know. Better, you know, because it was the foreign nation, the Middle Eastern foreign nation or country of Iran was of a different culture before those stupid and crazy Sharia law Islamic Muslim Ayatollah Khomeinis and jihadist Islamic Muslim terrorists had taken over. With we need to get back in there, put boots on ground, anything to help Iran become a democratic republic of democracy again, like it was in the calendar year of 1979, was we introduced it to them once again in the calendar year of 2026, and we're crumbling at the seams even as I speak, you know. And which will help them get better by establishing democratic republic and democracy there once again. You know. After we get rid of those crazies, Sharia law, Ayatollah Khomeinis, as some of us get them on time, and the subordinate, the hottest Islamic model terrorists, so that the Iranian citizens can breathe freely again without feeling like they're held captive. So they could become so that you're experiencing the freedom of a democratic republic or a democratic form of government or democracy. Once again, we living in all that damn hell otherwise. You understand what I'm saying? Freedom, 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 freedom. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Your wrath about anything that he's doing. I mean, those countries and nations, idiots and sickos, must really be off the rocker, you know. It reminds me of how at one time or another, you know, whereas an Iranian Islamic Muslim female of an underage female minor of an adolescent teenager, and she was supposed to be trying to get some social justice for her sister, who had unfortunately become subject to experiencing that of the results of developments of Sharia law, you know, until her sister tried to come off as Wonder Woman in her own right. And now her sister is on trial, you know, then because the very Ayatollah Khomeini that had ordered the death of her sister, a contract hit that was put upon her, she somehow managed to get into his business office while he was, you know, orchestrating, initiating, perpetrating, you know, further principles of Sharia law. She went in there with a gasoline container filled with its content, as she secretly carted in there via some other means, disguised as something else. And then she poured it all over him, about a gallon of gasoline, and set him afire. And then, well, she turned herself in, and now she's on trial for, you know, that of the attempted murder or assassination of one of those Sharia law Ayatollah Khomeinis. Again, that word you said, everything's gonna be okay. So it just goes to show that not every Iranian citizen is in agreement with Sharia law. Compared to some, there are others that detest it, hate it with a vengeance, especially when you have Iran being of its own government committing mass genocide against Iranian Islamic Muslim citizens, and that ain't right. You know, and then has the audacity to try to establish its own nuclear facility, whereas a crazy country like that don't need to be in possession of any ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, to possibly speed up the day of World War III breaking out on an international or global level, God forbid. And on that last note of interest, I'd like to say, if you haven't gotten Christ as your own personal Lord and Savior, I would hope that you would think to do so now, while the blood is still running warm in your veins, by recognizing and realizing what he himself had done or did upon the cross of Calvary on the hill of the Golgotha, suffering at the hands of Roman soldiers up on the orders of their superiors, being a morsel or manual mostly religious Pharisees and or Sadducees. But then that's where he went to that cross of Calvary to fulfill biblical prophecy, God who had come in human flesh to restore the breach between himself and mankind made in his image, so that if any of us, regardless of race, walk of life, gender, age, and etc., would profess some such faith in him, and there will become and be blessed one regard another, more ways than one. First and foremost, with his salvation, being a which is the only by which any of us can or could possibly become citizens of the kingdom of heaven, and the only way we could escape the fires of damn hell, as it is the only fire insurance against it. And the second all, we'll be blessed with his living. First, you got to get his salvation, otherwise you have nothing coming. And with very few escape hell that become subject to experiencing one of those beyond and back experience to reverse their decision to have rejection of greater salvation. How most who go to hell end up there forever. Then you all take care and be safe, and I'll talk to you later if God wills. And it's a wrap. We out. Peace.